Okay, so it's no surprise to anyone that I have been really, really bad and really inconsistent with my uploads. I just haven't known what to do because I am such a mood reader. So whenever I do a TBR, whenever I do a little challenge, I can't stick to the books that I want to do the challenge for because I'm a mood reader and I'm very much a mood reader. So by the time I finish a book, if I don't want to read the next book that I have on my so-called TBR or list that I put together for that month, I find it really, really difficult. And then I find myself going into a reading slump and I'm hating my life. So I just want to read books as and when I want to read them, but I also would like to do a fun little challenge. I'm going to challenge myself. We're going to see if this works out. So I stumbled upon Books Like Whoa's channel just recently, and she was doing an A to Z book challenge, like a reading challenge where she's going through all of her TBR shelves and she is reading books by obviously the different alphabetical order. And what I'm going to do instead of what she did, because she did by title, I'm going to do by author. And so we're just going to go through A to Z. We're going to see how it goes. I do have my bookshelves somewhat organized by author alphabetically because I'm a Virgo and that's how it makes sense for me. But I also only have one bookshelf and I have too many books. So I'm standing right now, but this is my little bookshelf and it's packed full to the brim. And I've got shelves up top, shelves down below, and then books to the side that I cannot fit on the shelves. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to start at A. I don't know how many books I'm going to read in this video, but we'll see. I'm hoping at least a couple. And then we'll see how far this challenge takes me. But I feel like this is what I want to do. I am currently reading this. This is The Right Move by Liz Tomford. And I think it's going to be a 5-star. So at the point that I finish this, I do want to have another book. I may just crack it out tonight. I don't know. I have about 200 pages left on page 304 at the time that I'm filming this. So let's see. All right, I'm going to move some books because otherwise we're not going to see what we're looking at. So the way I've done it, these are the first books to start off with. I do have right at the bottom here, we're going to go with A, and I do have at the bottom here this is a nonfiction book. So I don't think that I want to read a nonfiction book, but let me take out all of the A's and let's talk about it. All right, so I have 5 books here that all have an author beginning with A. However, I have read 3 of these books. So there's only 2 books to go with. And so this is not going to be too difficult to pick which book I want to read. So we'll just start with what I have. So this one's actually nonfiction. I just picked this up at my local sort of free library. I do live in Portugal, so it's hard to find English books that are obviously used and everything, but I did find one locally. There's a good expat community here, and this free library, you go and you take your books. I like this where I unhaul all of my books. And then you can grab any books that you want. So I did see this one. This is The Paradox, the 9 Greatest Enigmas in Physics. I don't want to read this. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I'm not going to be reading this for this challenge. But this is it on my shelves, and I did pick this up, but I'm not wanting, there's no way I'm going to be able to read all this and not go into a reading slump. This is the type of book that I'm going to read, you know, a few chapters here and there. I don't think I can read the whole thing. All right, so these next 3 I've already read. So I have The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. Obviously, I've just kept on my shelf because it's a book that I want to keep. I also have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the only Lauren Asher book that I've kept. I have read the rest in the Billionaire series, and I didn't like them. I know a lot of people didn't like this one. This is the only one that I kind of liked. It's a 3-star. I don't think it's going to stay on my shelves forever, but it's still here. And then I also have Bunny by Mona Awad. I loved this last year. It was one of my top reads, absolute favorites for the year. I would recommend anyone reading this. It is so unhinged and so beautiful. And actually, I just saw that she's going to have a sequel to this, which I'm actually quite scared about because I felt like this ended in the perfect way. It was ambiguous and I just loved that. So I think, I don't know, I'm worried that reading a follow-up book to this story would ruin what happened, for me at least, in this story, but I also do want to read it. So the only other book that I have is another Mona Awad. So this is obviously going to be the book that I read. It's the only other book that has an author with the you know, starts with A, I am going by the last name of the author as well, because again, I'm a weirdo. Apparently that's a weird thing to do here on BookTube, but it's what I do. So this is Rouge. I saw some mixed things about, you know, people reviews, and they didn't really care for this book, but they loved Bunny. I loved Bunny. I'm hoping that I really like this. I really felt like Bunny was so interesting and kind of a surprise. I went into it not knowing really much, and I'm going to go into this not knowing really much either, because I'm hoping that this author just gets me. I think she gets me, and I'm hoping that, you know, we get each other. So I picked this up last year and I haven't read it, so this is definitely the one that I'm going to be reading. I'm kind of in the mood to read another unhinged story too. I've been reading a lot of romantic-y books, or like romance books, just like YA stuff, and I feel like I want some unhinged, weird stuff going on. And I don't know what this is about, to be fair. For as long as she can remember, Belle has been obsessed with her skin and skincare videos. When her estranged mother, Noelle, mysteriously dies, Belle finds herself back in California dealing with her mother's debts and grappling with lingering questions about her death. I don't want to read anymore, but it's like a weird spa situation. So we're going to read this, and hopefully this is a challenge that I can stick to, because I have filmed so many intros to challenges and never posted the videos. It's another reason like why I just don't post anything to my channel very much other than my wrap-ups, because every challenge that I try to do, I have failed. So let's see if I failed this one. So I've only read about 22 pages of Rouge so far. I started this last night. Like I said, I wanted to finish The Right Move, which, spoiler, was a 5-star. But this one, I'm really enjoying so far, but I was falling asleep last night, so I didn't read as much as I wanted to. I just really like Mona Awad's writing. So already I know this girl's going to be unhinged. We are at her mother's funeral. The prologue itself, actually, it starts off with a prologue, and that itself is a little bit strange. I think she's going to be very much into her looks, because her mother was. I think she's going to be massively... her mother seemed to be quite a bit of a narcissist, and I'm assuming that our protagonist will also be a narcissist because she was brought up by one. I think that's kind of what she knows, but her mother seems like she was very much into her looks, and as a young girl, it sounds like our protagonist wasn't as quote-unquote pretty as her mother was. I don't know if this is something to do with Snow White, but there's a lot of references about mirrors and being beautiful, and her mother like looking into the mirror and wishing she were young and stuff. So I'm wondering if this is in some way a deranged sort of retelling of Snow White with the evil stepmother, even though it is actually her mother. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's going to have like some of those themes at least. Okay, so I am on page 146. Of Rouge, obviously, and I am loving it. I'm reading it pretty slowly, but I am enjoying it, honestly, every single page. I find these types of stories so fascinating to read, and is this like speculative horror? I don't know what this is. What is this? It's just so suspenseful and eerie and weird, but in like a good, not like it, but it also is a little comical too. There's just something about her writing. I found the same thing with Bunny. I just have such a good time with this. I love her writing style. I think a lot of people wouldn't enjoy it, but I'm just loving Mona Awad's writing style. I wish I could write like this. Maybe one day I will try. But okay, so this one, very much like in Bunny, there's like this underlining theme of like a cult or a group that is obviously up to something that we're not entirely sure what's going on. But also with Bunny, if you haven't read that story, like that is such a crazy story. I loved Bunny. And I feel like it's going to be a 5-star. Absolutely, 100%. I feel like it's going to be a 5-star because we're following Mirabelle, but she's called Belle, but sometimes she's called Mira, and she has no clue who she is. She is a product of her mother. She is a product of somebody who cared so deeply about their looks that she herself has so much internal hatred towards the way that she looks and the color of her skin because she is mixed race. And there's so much that you pick up between the lines, or actually some of it is pretty obvious when you're reading it. But she is just so confused about who she is. And she is letting things happen to her and not realizing what's happening. Like I can't really speak about what's happening because I don't want to spoil anything. What does it say in the back? Because maybe I can say something. Yeah, so she thinks she's gone to this spa experience, which is basically down the road from where her mother is. Her mother passed away. It's like the beginning of the story, so it's not spoiler. And she's at her mother's house, and she is supposed to be there just for a few days, tying up loose ends, selling some stuff, whatever, and just getting things sorted. So basically she goes to this spa. I'm just reading the book. I really don't know what I can tell you, but the spa is called La Maison de Méduse, like Medusa's house. It literally is in the back of the book, so it's not a spoiler. It is just so silly, and she in her head, she doesn't like make the connection. It's just a beyond bizarre situation. But I think it's also very, very satirical, and I think it's on purpose. It's just absurd. I love books like this. They have just unhinged women that are completely absurd. This whole book does center around appearances and being beautiful and trying to chase your youth and all of that. And I find a lot of what's written quite poignant because I'm 35. I am going through this sort of pre-midlife crisis in my mind where I just feel like, I want to go back to my 20s. I'm like struggling. I don't like aging. I don't think anyone really does. But then some people love aging, so actually that's not true. But there is this thing in society where obviously the beauty standards are very high. And so even though this book is set in 2016, I think it's very poignant, some of the things that's going on, and honestly quite sad because fascinating. I'm pretty much midway through the book, maybe a little bit less than midway through the book. And this book could go either way. It could go in a way where I don't enjoy it, or it could, I think I'm going to enjoy it regardless because of the way, I just love this writing style and storytelling. I found the same with Bunny. I thought Bunny was exceptionally annoying because all of the bunny characters just kept saying bunny, bunny, and that got very repetitive and annoying, but also it was on purpose. And something that's unique to this one is she has a very extensive, like enormous list of skincare products that she uses in the morning and also the evening. And there's like one whole page of her talking about her skincare products that she applies to her face. But I don't mind that because it just emphasizes the point of how OCD she is about it in a way, and how obsessed she is about chasing her youth. We don't quite know how old she is, but I'm assuming she's in her 30s. And so I'm assuming she's my age. And so maybe that's why I'm really enjoying this, because I, in a sense, kind of understand what she's chasing, but you're never going to find it because we're just going to get older and older. You can't turn back the time. Yeah, you can take care of your skin, but comes a point where you do a little bit too much, it's not going to do anything. So yeah, there's like pages of her just doing her skincare or talking about her needing to do her skincare, but she's definitely unraveling because she's not doing her skincare. And this might sound very boring. You're like, I don't want to read a book about someone doing their skincare, but it's what it represents that is what is interesting to me in my mind. And so I don't mind it because even though it is kind of repetitive, like on the page, and then I went into this, and then I exfoliated this, and then I used my mask for 10 minutes, and then I used this other mask for another 10 minutes, and then that's literally how it is. It's done on purpose, and it's not that it's written badly. It's just done on purpose, and I really, really like that. I think that's a very, very interesting way of writing, and just a unique writing style that I think a lot of people scare away from because they don't want to be repetitive. They don't want to do things like that kind of you're told not to. But if it demonstrates where the character is mentally, then it is very powerful, and it absolutely demonstrates where the character is, because we're like, this is first person narrative, right? So we're following Mirabelle, we're in her head, we know her inner thoughts. Her inner thoughts are very funny, but they're also like really dark and sinister, and she is a walking contradiction. She says one thing, but then her inner thoughts like, no, why'd you do that? Why'd you say that? And then she thinks one thing and she does something completely different. And she doesn't seem to have any control of herself, which I also find fun. So I don't know, I love these crazy little wacky characters, and I think this is so much fun. I think this is going to be a sad story at the end of the day. I think there is something that's happening, or I've been really enjoying this, so I'm so happy that I'm starting off this challenge with a book that I'm loving. Let's hope it continues. But yeah, I think in this one, depending on how far I get to, it would definitely be nice to read at least a couple books, at least. But yeah, we'll see. So finish this one hopefully today, and then we'll pick our letter B. All right, probably no surprise, but this is a 5-star. I finished it today, and although I didn't enjoy it as much as Bunny, I really, really enjoyed it. You're very crooked. I do apologize. This kind of read to me like I was floating in a cloud, because you really don't know what's going on. It's very foggy, and that the book itself, like, it's just such a foggy dream, and you're kind of following along Belle, and she doesn't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Obviously, you know that things aren't pleasant. You know things are not good, whatever is happening. I'm not going to say I predicted the ending, but I did kind of see that it was going in that way, but I still really enjoyed it, and it was quite poignant. But I think ultimately I preferred Bunny. I thought it was a little bit more of a fun read. I don't think this was a fun read. I think this was a good read. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I had a super fun time at the end of the day, because she's massively spiraling, and you're spiraling with her. And obviously I don't want to give away spoilers, but I thought it was a good book. So 5 stars. Yay, me, got a 5-star read. Okay, so now we got to pick our author that has a last name with the letter B. Okay, I'm going to be quick because I am cooking at the moment, and also my battery is slowly dying, so that's fun. I'm also going to take my shoes off because they make noises on the ground here. Okay, so we're back to my shelves, to the shelves. Maybe I'll put you there. And what we're going to do, we're going to do B. So I was looking up at the top here. These are all of my Fairy Loot books that I have yet to read. And the first one actually starts with an author, the letter B. So we're going to pull that one. We're going to pull all of the ones that are eligible, and then I will decide what I want to read. All right, there's actually tons of books that we can read. I have 8 eligible options, so this one's going to be a little bit trickier. But again, this is all about mood reading. Like, what do I actually want to read right now? I think straight away, because Rouge was, I wouldn't say a hard book, but it's kind of a heavy book. It was definitely a heavy book to read. And while it wasn't as fun as Bunny, it was still like a little bit lighthearted and like just dark humor around it. But obviously there was this underlining sinister aspect to it and deep sort of depression and whatnot. So I think in that case, you're still crooked. I don't know how to fix you. How do I fix you? Okay, is that better? I don't know, who cares? Okay, so let me go through the options. So with that in mind, I think I want to read something a little bit lighter, and maybe I don't have to like use my brain. Anyway, let's go through all the options. So the first one is Wuthering Heights. I know I'm not going to be picking this one. Obviously it's a classic, and I've been wanting to read it for a while. I got this at a used bookstore when I was in England. This is not something I want to read. First of all, like I don't think I'm in the mood to read this because I think it's going to be another heavy book. Next up, we've got the Atlas 6 from Olivia Blake. I've never read from them, so I've heard mixed things about this book. Also, it's really big. I think it's dark academia. Yeah, secret society, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Once a decade, the world's best musicians are invited to join the elite Alexandrian society. Its members enjoy a lifetime of power and access to ancient secrets, but only 5 places are offered. So after recruitment by the mysterious Atlas Blakely, the candidates must complete a rigorous year of arcane study. So it's gonna be like trials and stuff, maybe? It is awfully long. It's like 550 pages. I'm not gonna be wanting to read this. I also am on a little bit of a time crunch because I do want to get this video out sometime this week. So the smaller the book, probably the better. Okay, I have these two. So I did read the first one, which is The Wicked Prince. Is it The Wicked Prince? I'm confused. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I do have the next two. So obviously this is the third one. So if I'm going to read one, it's going to be this, The Wicked King. I think I could probably read this pretty fast. And it's your YA romantasy. Pretty easy read, the first one. I think I read the first one in 24 hours. So I think I'm intrigued to see where the story goes. So this is definitely a contender for what I want to read next. Obviously, I'm not going to read the third one, so I don't know why I pulled that one. Okay, then we also have this one, When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. So I've had this on my TBR for over a year now, and it is historical fantasy, so I don't know if I'm going to want to read that. Wisconsin, 1955, in a world where girls and women are told to be quiet, the dragons inside them are about to be set free, and nothing will ever be the same again. When hundreds of thousands of ordinary women sprout wings, scales, and talons and take to the skies in a blaze of fire and fury, Alex Green is one of those left behind. I think this is another one where I think I'm going to enjoy this book, but I don't want to read it, so I think I'm going to skip on this one. Okay, then we have another Dark Academia. I have actually tried to read this. I think I've read maybe the first chapter and then I put it down. It was softy enough. I just wasn't in the mood. I don't think I'm in the mood to read Dark Academia right now, but obviously this is Ninth House, the first installment of, I think it's a trilogy now, because obviously the second book came out, and I think there's already a third one or it's on its way. So never read from Leigh Bardugo again. Again, I think it's kind of chunky, and I think while this might be entertaining, obviously I bought it because I wanted to read it, but I don't think I want to read it right now. Okay, then we have this one. This is a complete shot in the dark because I picked this up at a free library here. This is Murray Bailey, and this is Map of the Dead, a 3,000-year-old secret they want to stay buried. I think this is like a thriller. The new kingdom of ancient Egypt was a time of great turmoil and intrigue. Pharaohs were erased from history, beliefs were questioned, secret messages told the truth about the dark period in history. Within days of solving a 3,000-year-old puzzle, a researcher dies in suspicious circumstances. Her friend and colleague Alex McClure is determined to find the truth, a story of blood, betrayal, honor, and lies. I think it's going to be a sort of like a mystery thriller, and I'm not into that right now. I mean, I will read this because I picked it up and I was interested. It's a nice little floppy little book. Obviously it's used, so it has some stains, but that's fine. How many pages is this? This is just over 400 pages. Do I want to read this? I really don't think I want to read this right now, so I think I'm going to skip. I think I know what I want to read, but this next one could be a contender. So this is the Fairy Loot one. This is the last option we have. It also is quite a small book. This is Sleep Like Death by Kaylin Bayron. So I think this is also YA fantasy sort of romance, which is what The Wicked King will be from Holly Black. So obviously Holly Black is going to be a sequel for me. This one would be an actual like retelling of, I think this is Snow White retelling, which is kind of fitting given that Snow White came out this year and everybody hates it, and it's such a, oh no, Cinderella is dead, but Snow White flies on. Oh, that's what it says in the back. So maybe it's like a mixture of the two. I don't really know. So what I didn't really, like I kind of mentioned it, but Rouge was, it wasn't a retelling of any of those fairy tales, but I feel like it had a lot of Snow White metaphors in there because there was a lot of mirrors and red, and there was just a lot of inspiration driven from Snow White. So I'm not sure I'm going to want to read a book that pulls from the same story, if that makes sense. But anyway, let me just read. This is a huge blurb, so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but let's just see what it says. So, Princess Eve was raised with one purpose: to destroy the night, an evil sorcerer who terrorizes queens, Bridge, with his wicked magic, far too many of her subjects have been devastated by the knight's trickery, but Eve's own unique magic, the ability to conjure weapons from nature, makes her a worthy adversary. Yeah, I think this is going to be a little too similar to Rouge. Not like it's going to be completely different, but it's already like talking about like secret mirror and stuff. And there's like so much in Rouge that I didn't talk about because I don't want to spoil the book, but there's a lot of mirrors in there. So I think we have our answer. We are going to read this one, which actually is pretty good because I usually wait way too long to read the second book of a series, and I just read The Cruel Prince, so now we're going to read this one. I gave The Cruel Prince 3 stars. I think honestly it's more like a 2.5 because I really didn't like all the bullying in that book. I just thought there was too much. So we're going to see what this one is like, how the story progresses, and hopefully I can read it pretty decently, and then I can post this video and we can just keep the series going because I'm kind of enjoying it. But obviously I'm just coming off of a high of a 5 star. So going into this one where I know like the writing isn't as good and everything, I'm probably not going to rate this super high, but it's here nonetheless. So let's get started. I have not been updating you at all this week. It's been a very, very busy week, but I have just finished The Wicked King by Holly Black. I don't know what to think about this because as I was reading it, there were parts where I was like, ooh, this is gonna get good. And then I was getting a little bored and it got really political, and I'm just thinking like, was I really into this? I don't think so. And I was probably gonna give it like a 3, 3.5 because I do think that I was enjoying it a little bit more than the first one. However, it took me much longer to read. The first one definitely I read in 24 hours. This one, it's taken me a whole week, but I haven't been reading that much this week. And I literally just finished it like 10 minutes ago, and I want to pick up another book. So obviously I want you to be here to do that, but I haven't spoken about this at all. There's just a couple pages where I've put little tabs of when I enjoyed Carden, I think that's how you say his name. I've enjoyed a couple moments with him, but I wasn't expecting that at the end, and maybe like I was like, what? That's how it's going to end? And I just feel a little frustrated, and maybe that's what I'm supposed to feel. Like I feel really frustrated with this book because that's how it ends. Like, what? Okay, so obviously I'm not going to spoil this book because it's a second in a series. If you haven't read the series, but it's a very, very popular one. I'm sure most people have if you are watching this, but I don't know what to rate this. I still think it's probably a 3, 3.5. I don't see myself giving this a 4, so I think I'm gonna have to bump it down to a 3 on Goodreads, but I think it's closer to like 3.5. But yeah, I'm just like, that's how it's gonna end. Really? And I'm not saying that in like a bad way. It's just like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. That's how it ends. He's gonna do that to her? What? All right, having said that, we are on to our letter C. I figured I'd do 3 books for this video. Was trying to get this done within a week, but obviously that hasn't happened, but it's fine, it's fine. I did just receive my Fairy Loot and my Lumicrate. These are the 2 boxes for March, and I think I have one that starts with a C. Yeah, I have one that starts with a C. I did cancel my subscription boxes, but obviously the March one still came, so I don't think I'll get April at this point. All right, so it's not too bad. All of these I have not read, obviously. So we have a bunch of subscription boxes, but then we also have subscription box books, and then we also have 3 books that I got myself. All right, so we'll start with this one. So this is Richard Crompton, The Honey Guide. This is something that I picked up at the free library. So it just says detective warrior father, death is a fact of life in Africa's sprawling megacity, but life is cheap. Power and wealth are in the hands of a small elite. So it's based in Nairobi, and it's about a brutalized body and I think a detective or something, like a warrior turned. So it's going to be like one of these sort of detective mystery crime novels, but based in Nairobi, which I think would be very interesting, and that's why I picked it up. So I don't know. And then we have Pen Cole, and this is Spark of the Everflame. So this is the first book of, I think it's a trilogy at this point, and I've heard nothing but good things about this one. This is going to be, again, another sort of romantasy, but it's not YA, so maybe I'll enjoy it a little bit more. It's the Kindred's Curse Saga, book 1, and it says epic slow burn romantasy, and I love slow burns. So I'm just wondering if I should potentially try this one out. But then I've just read sort of like a fae romantasy book, and I think this is all fae as well. So after her life healer, Diam Bellatar has yearned to escape her tiny village in Imarian, a realm ruled over by cruel demigods known as the Descended. Okay, so these are like more like gods and not necessarily fae. So that could be actually a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to leave this to the side. Then we have a short story book by Eliza Clark. I thought this would be, this kind of like, I think it centers more around like unhinged women and like weird stuff going on. It's called She's Always Hungry. And I think it's just a bunch of weird short stories in this one. It's a very, very small one too. I've not read from Eliza Clark, but I just thought this sounded so interesting. This is literally only like 200 pages. And I think maybe this would be a contender, because it would be nice to like get another book out the door and not have to like start a new series or, you know, read like a 400-page book. So I think this is definitely something that I would want to read. I've never read a short story book though, so I'm wondering if I would really like it. But I think this one is going to be up there in terms of what I feel like reading. And then this I just got. This is one of my fairy loots that I just got for March. This is Where Shadows Meet. It's by Patricia Caldwell. So obviously we can look at it for C's. It doesn't look like it's super long. It's about just over 300 or so pages. It looks like it's a sapphic romantasy. Ooh, it's about vampires. Layla, the crown princess of a vampire nation, must travel to Necros, the island of the dead, where her best friend is captured during an attack on the capital. Ooh, and I think it is sapphic as well. So I'm going to show you. I'm assuming it is because it has, obviously, they're embracing each other. So I didn't know this was vampires. And so I'm intrigued, actually, to be fair. I might start reading this one. Oh yeah, you can see like the vampire teeth. Can you see the vampire teeth? Potentially. And actually, I'll just show you the sprayed edges. It's pretty cool. Maybe this one is another Actually, yeah, I think this would be another option. I can tell you right now, I don't think I'm going to read this one. It's just too big. It's stunning though. I've had this a while. This is also a fairy loot. This is The Girl with No Reflection. It's by Keshi Chow. And this one, yeah, I don't, which one was this? This was back in August of last year. And it is the adult book. And it's basically a dark and romantic retelling of a princess who must discover the truth behind the royal family. Faced with the mysterious mirror realm and sentient reflection, she must fulfill her prophecy in order to save the empire. Okay, so it's about mirrors again. This is going to be another Snow White, right? Look at this. Isn't this not like another Snow White? Am I just reading? Every book is about Snow White, it seems. The Girl with No Reflection. Okay, very interesting. Okay, I didn't know that's what this is about. This would be very interesting, but this is just such a long book. This is how many pages? This is almost 500 pages. I'm just not in the mood to read a 500-page book right now. But having said that, I also have Cassandra Clare. This is Swordcatcher. absolutely enormous. I got this in Fairy Loot last year as well. This one, I don't think I kept the thing, so I'm not sure when we got this in Fairy Loot, but this was like one of my first Fairy Loot boxes. Maybe it wasn't even last year, maybe it was 2023. This one, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to read right now. I'm not in the mood to read this mega one. This is 600 pages long. And this, I have no idea what this is about, but I know that there's another book out. Vibrant city-state of Castellone, nobles and criminals have one thing in common, the constant search for wealth, power, and the next hedonistic thrill. Yet, as an impoverished orphan, Kel's prospects look bleak until he's stolen from his old life to enter a new one of luxury and peril. He's to become Prince Connor Aurelian's body double. Oh, okay. Shielding the prince from all danger. But is this like a romance? Do they like fall in love? I'm assuming. Surely they're going to fall in love, right? They're like very, very handsome. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, actually. I have no idea. All right, last option would be this one. This is Cruel is the Light. This one I also got in Fairy Loot. This is by Sophie Clark. And this one is not too old. This one we got back in January of this year. And this is a young adult. So in a century-old war between demons and the Vatican, okay, an exorcist and an elite soldier form an uneasy alliance to uncover a dangerous conspiracy at the heart of the church, all while battling growing attraction and dark secrets. They must eventually choose between love and duty. Okay, this sounds actually really interesting. This sounds so interesting, and I kind of like this YA because I always find these books very cute. So, okay, actually, I wasn't going to read this one because it was one also looks really long. It is a very pretty book though. It's a really pretty book. What does the actual book look like? Oh wow, stunning. Absolutely stunning. Wow. And the reverse sleeve is actually really cool. I might have to read this book because I kind of want to keep it on my, like that compared to that. Come on, that is so much better, right? I have to swap those around. That's so much cooler. Okay, this is the prettiest book I think I have on my shelves for sure. I don't think I even studied it. Let me see how many oh my gosh, it's so floppy too. This is like one of these floppy ones. Okay, this is ticking a lot of boxes. It is like, it's like just under 500 pages. Do I want to read a 500 page book? I keep saying no. Oh, you got, wow, look at this. Look at this map inside. This is so detailed. All right, I think in reality, I'm going to read this one just because it is shorter. And I think if I start reading this, because it took me so long to read The Wicked King, not that I wasn't really enjoying it, but I am ending up just giving it a 3.5. So it's not like an amazing book by any means, but I'm just like frustrated with the ending of that story. I think I want to read something completely different. And I think this is going to take me out of that slump that I'm probably slowly falling into, because I had 2 5 stars this month. Then I've had Wicked King. I want something to like bring me back up. And I do like unhinged, weird stories. And because these are all very short, I think that will work out for me. Okay, so I finished this last night. I'm gonna give this a 5 star. I've never read a short story book, so that might be a little bit elevated. I was thinking, oh, this is probably gonna be a 4 star. But overall, I think this was quite a good selection of little short horror or weird little stories. Some of them weren't horror, some of them were just a little bit odd. And I did like 1 or 2 quite a bit more than the rest. I really liked Hollow Bones. I liked the first one, which is Build a Body Like Mine. And I also liked The King, which was kind of weird. It was a kind of a weird one. And some of them just made me feel a bit queasy. Like I wouldn't recommend reading this book while you're eating, because there are some moments where
visually it's just quite gross. But anyway, I'm going to close out this vlog. I did end up reading 3 books, 2 of which I really, really enjoyed. And you know what? I'm just going to want to continue this. So I'm going to finish this vlog, post it. I'm going to start the next one straight away because I want to pick my next book. And because it's gone so well, I have itchy feet. So yeah, I would definitely recommend She's Always Hungry. If you, they're not all unhinged women. I thought it was going to be all like unhinged women. It's not. There are some that are just a few pages long, and it was, I read it and I was like, okay. Like there were some stories where I was like, what's the point? And then some were just a little bit odd, and I don't know how one person can think of all the stories are very different from each other, and one person thought of all these different little stories, and they don't have any theme to them. They're all just completely random, and I kind of like that, but they're all a little bit weird. There's definitely horror elements to them, and I think I like the ones that had more horror elements to it. Some of them weren't that horror. Recap, loved Rouge, gave it 5 stars. Definitely best book I've read this month so far, but maybe we will find another one. First book was like a low 3. This is like a little bit of a higher 3, but generally I'm just kind of like, is that how you're going to end it? So thank you so much for watching if you did watch it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!